Hi everyone, in this video we'll be doing the topic called on statistical data handling. As a summary, this topic is actually about the different ways to present a set of data, and looking back at this topic you realize that this topic is quite primary school-ish, which were things that we already have went through in primary school. So to begin, for this topic we'll be looking at some raw data which we'll be processing, and we'll try to tabulate them into a table which will process of manual recording. That's called tallying. So tallying is something you have to go through and learn, and once we tally we'll get something we call a frequency table. And if you look at a frequency table, you realize that it's a base form for any other kinds of presentation of the data, like a bar graph, like a pie chart, and a dot diagram, and of course things like a pictogram. And realize these are terms that we've already seen before, like a bar graph and pie chart. So we need to get into headspace of thinking, okay, what is a secondary school portion of this topic? That will come a bit soon, right? But for now, you also need to understand that apart from understanding statistical data handling as different ways of presenting the data, we also need to understand that we have to be able to read the graph or the chart. Next, we also need to understand that we have to be able to understand the different advantages and weaknesses of different ways of presenting data. So we can ask questions like, when is a bar graph better than a pie chart, or when is a pie chart better than a dot diagram, so on and so forth. These are questions we hope to answer, to be able to answer once we go through this topic. And of course, the last one is actually from the data presentation and the way data is presented, is there any valuable information that allows us to interpret the data in a particular way so that we can come up with a conclusion based on that data set? Right, so over here we have what we consider to be the raw data. So it's the result of a survey on a class of 40 students, right, regarding number of siblings that they have. So the first thing we need to understand is what is being displayed in this set of raw data. So of course there are 5 rows followed by 8 columns. So if you count and multiply them, it's 40 students. So we need to understand, for example, what does this 2 means? Well, it means that this particular student has 2 siblings. And that's what I refer to as a data point. And of course, all these numbers represent the number of siblings each student have. Right? So we need to be able to transfer this data into a tally table and ultimately a frequency table later on. Right? To do so, we need to have good bookkeeping habits. So we will go row by row, like this, row by row down the row, and we'll start looking for the numbers of the first set of siblings that we want, which is 0 siblings, which means that the student is the only child. So we go down the first row and we see, all right, there's a 0 here. There's a 0. So what we need to do is we just cross it out and put a line here. So that's 1 student. Go down the row, there's another 0 here, 1 more student, and go down the next row, you see there's another 0 here. Now it's for the third row, there's only 1 0 there. Fourth, and in the 4th row, you realize there's a 0 here. So what you need to do when you reach the 5th student, you draw a line across like so. And to continue to finish up this one, you get 1 more 0 at the end, and you get 6 in total. So there are 6 students with 0 siblings, right? So why do we do it in this manner? You need to understand that what we're trying to achieve is some form of visual convenience. So if you look over here, you can see that this is a set of 5. And you can read it easily that it's 6. Let's try one more time with our next number. We can choose 1. So 1 is over here. So put 1. One more here, 1. 1. Let me split this up. If we continue, you'll get what we have over here as 13 ones. So there are 13 students with 1 siblings, right? Let me just continue and you will get something like the one you see over here. Like so. Right, these are our complete table. And if you look carefully, if you count the total, you'll reach 40. And once again, if you look over here, you can see that just by one look, you know there are 9 students with 2 siblings. So we're going to transfer this into the final form that's important here, which is our frequency table. It will look something like that, right? The set of information displayed is the same. Frequency here means just the number of students, all right? Number of students with that particular number of siblings. So let's highlight one particular column and see whether we understand what it means. So let's say we look at this particular column. It means that there are 4 students with 4 siblings, right? And let's try one more here. So there are 9 students with 2 siblings. Sorry. Right? So this is the first way of how we present our data. It's a very standard way because from here we can go to our pie chart, we can go to our bar graph, and so on and so forth. Right? That's it for now. Thank you.